topic of discussion today is that this week we got set photos of Hugh Jackman in the yellow suit. And like, it is full blown, the classic suit that people have wanted forever. And first they put out a picture and it was the two of them standing next to each other. And then over the next 2 days, it went from that to now we have videos of the two of them. And then there's like ones with the claws, ones with all of these different things. And between the three of us, I think we had very different feelings about it. Richard, I feel like you speak for the masses, especially the main voice on Twitter. So why are you excited about this?
I mean, well, as you can tell clearly from looking at me, I am a huge Deadpool fan. I've got the Deadpool shirt. I'm sitting in a Deadpool chair, and I have a Deadpool drinking straw for my glass of water. So I'm a huge Deadpool fan. I love the first two movies. And when Marvel got the rights to do Deadpool, I was really excited, obviously, just because you get Ryan Reynolds in the MCU as Deadpool. And I think these set photos, for me personally, I know Marvel, we all know that Marvel has had issues over the last few years that have really divided people on the movies, whether it's Ant-Man or Thor or just the general CGI of it all and everything. What's exciting me the most about Deadpool is that we get so much of the classic like X-Men stuff that we've always wanted to see in the X-Men movies, but we haven't gotten until now. The thing with me too is, especially with Hugh Jackman as Wolverine, we've gotten so many different versions of him. We've gotten the grunty, the grueling, terrifying version of him in Logan. That's like one of the most revered comic book movies of all time, and that was amazing. And we got the comic booky X-Men stuff sort of in the original trilogy with the leather suits and everything, but we've never seen him before in this suit, the one that everybody's known from the comics and from the animated vibes. I can already hear the X-Men animated theme going in my head. The way they did in Doctor Strange 2 and Miss Marvel. And I think that more than anything in a Deadpool movie is, I think it's the perfect avenue to bring Hugh Jackman back. And I think the thing too is that this isn't like Hugh Jackman's going to be around the MCU for a long time. I'm betting this is like probably a 2-picture deal at most, this and Secret Wars. So we get this, we get the classic like Wolverine X-Men that everybody's wanted for a long time. We have a lot of fun with it. He gets to curse his heart out and, chop off some of Deadpool's limbs. And I just think it's going to be a really fun time, personally. Like, that's the kind of humor I love. That's the kind of movie I enjoy. And I know that it doesn't look perfect, but it is only one scene. Yeah. So I'm staying optimistic. I'm really looking forward to this movie. I can't wait to see it about.
If you can give me the 2-3 sentence answer to this, but the other thing that we've gotten over the last few weeks is confirmation of Jennifer Garner coming back as Elektra and some of these other Fox cameos. They're obviously doing multiverse. We've seen photos of the Fox logo. So there's clearly something going on. It's going meta. It's going very cameo heavy. What's your 2-3 sentence reaction to that?
It's Deadpool. That's what Deadpool, I think, is all about. He is the fourth wall breaking crazy man of the MCU. And it's Deadpool kills the Fox universe, I think. And I think that's the story we're leaning towards. I think that's going to be a part of the movie, obviously, with the TVA stuff involved. But I think it's going to be a fun part of it.
Griffin, you have different feelings. And you've had concerns since they first said Hugh Jackman's coming back. Yeah. And then they start referencing all these cameos. And then we see this bright yellow suit. Give us the counterpoint.
Yeah, I mean, literally as soon as the project was announced and like, I wasn't against the idea of a Deadpool 3. I was just, I just don't really care for the direction they've taken this. And so like when it was announced that Hugh Jackman was coming back to play Wolverine again, I was pretty off-put by the whole thing because it's just kind of upending the end of his character with Logan. He let the character rest his tenure on that. Whatever you make of it, obviously it was kind of like he had one good movie, had one disastrous movie, whatever, which is putting it generally. Like it was a tumultuous tenure for him as the character, but he was always consistently good. And so like, while, it would have been cool to like see him have a better, more consistent tenure, the character was laid to rest in Logan, which is, I think, one of the greatest comic book movies ever made. And I think James Mangold kind of like he really did a beautiful, soulful conclusion to that character. When you're gonna kind of undo that for the sake of a Deadpool movie, it just kind of left a bad taste in my mouth, and I got really cynical about the whole thing. And because like I think you can do a Deadpool 3 with Wolverine, but have it be the new guy, and then just like whoever you were going to bring into the role, and then kind of like riff on that, like how it's like he's different. Like it almost feels like too easy. Like, why wouldn't you have gone that way instead of like just, you know, defiling the grave of Hugh Jackman's Wolverine for the sake of money? So it's like, it's just
strong words.
It's just one of those things that's just like, wait, like I feel like we're like fandom is at a place where they just don't want to let things end. They don't want to see their heroes get older. They don't want to see their heroes die. They don't want to let them like evolve as people. They're treated in this weird mythic sense, I guess. And so, yeah, okay. So Hugh Jackman's coming back, and I was like, all right. So Hugh Jackman's coming back. It's probably going to be littered with cameos. It's probably going to like be some attempt to lampshade the multiverse thing, and that's literally
what's confirmed.
Yeah, and that's basically what we're getting. And I just like, I think that is so lame. It's such a just like I don't know, it's just a cheap way to use this character in that section of the universe. And it's just like, really, like the best you could think of is to just like bring back everything that was ever created under the Fox umbrella for superheroes and just like make fun of it and just be like, oh yeah, look at them with like the biker suits and everything. Isn't that stupid? We're gonna make it yellow this time. And it's just, I don't know, dude. Like I think that's what bothers me about Deadpool. Like as like a character in general, I really like that first movie. I think that first movie actually has like a lot of like wit and charm to it. It's kind of grated on me over the years just because I think like once you've heard the jokes a million times, like with most comedies, it loses its effect. I really didn't like the second one. I thought the second one was a big step backwards, and it was like everything I hated about the Deadpool character. And like this one, I'm just sort of like, oh man. And on top of that, they're making this movie during a writer's strike. Like part of like, even if you don't like the previous two Deadpool movies, part of why that works is because Ryan Reynolds like just makes shit up on the spot. Yeah. And so you're like that is like the inherent appeal of this is getting to see.
But they said he can put the mask on in ADR in post.
Right, because that's going to go really well. Yeah, that's going to go really well. It's just like so how are you going to fix Hugh Jackman's parts then? His scenes, is his stuff going to be concrete, or is it
keep showing the back of his head?
Yeah,
they make references to the fact that there was a strike, and so they keep cutting to the back of his head and do ADR riffing.
Yeah.
They do reshoots for every single MCU movie anyways. So I mean, I God knows I don't know how long this writer strike is going to go on. Fingers crossed it's not as bad.
Right. Yeah. I don't know. I guess it's like one of those things, and then I see the pictures of like Hugh Jackman coming back in the yellow suit, and I assumed they were probably going to have him be in a yellow suit, and like I know what they're doing. They're like, oh look, we're going to give you the comic accurate iconography, and it's going to make you forget how cynical this whole thing is, because that's kind of like Ryan Reynolds' brand of thing. And it's just like, it's cool. Like I don't hate the look of the suit. The suit looks fine. I just like Hugh Jackman in a yellow suit isn't enough to get me excited for the prospect of this movie. Like it's a cool like little visual gimmick, but it's like, is that enough to warrant like bringing him back and like ending and you know upending the beautiful swan song that they had with Logan? I don't really think so. And I know a lot of people have been giving James Mangold shit because he voiced that he didn't really like the fact that they're bringing Hugh Jackman's version of the character back. He was like, you know, I just find it to be a little like sad that we couldn't let this character go out the way he did. And everyone's just sort of like, oh, the coming from the guy who's like resurrecting Indiana Jones. And I'm like, no. It's a very different thing. Yeah. Like that movie was spearheaded by Harrison Ford, first of all, who wanted to tell a very, you know, specific story that brought a conclusion to that character's arc. He wasn't digging up like a hero from the grave who was like already their time has already been put to rest. I think I'd be more down with like the iconography and everything if this was a new version of that character, of Wolverine and everything, but it's not. And so it's just sort of like there's a weird sort of disconnect there, because that everything they're sort of playing with Hugh Jackman's, with at least from the set photos and everything that we're seeing and the direction this film seems to be going in, that's not his version of Logan. And I feel like they're trying to make him play a different version of the character. And it's just, I don't know. They really should have just recast that role. And if they wanted to do like Deadpool versus Wolverine, do it that way and do it as like a buddy road trip or something like that.
All right, let me step in as the middle spot. So, I think it's good that like the reason people are excited about this movie, I think we know what that is. Like, right, Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman as two people, they're really fun to watch on Instagram and Twitter, riff on each other. Clearly, they have good chemistry. They play off each other well. And we never got to see that prior to Hugh Jackman retiring from the role. And they were already kind of like landing the Wolverine ship while Deadpool was taking off. And then it became like, oh crap, we have two actors that have great energy with each other. And we have created the scenario where we can't do them together. And you jump forward and you start getting into this world where, oh, people love multiverse movies. We're in this era right now where so much of all of our franchises is about, let's remind us of the past and let's pull in our past heroes and pull them together. And so immediately the most obvious one that comes to mind is Hugh Jackman, Ryan Reynolds. Of like, wouldn't it be cool if we got to see that? Because they're so fun on the internet. Superficially, of course I'm excited about that. Like, I want to see what they're going to do. Of course, superficially, those scenes are going to be a lot of fun. Like, I'm not worried. Like, will it be funny? Will it make me laugh? Of course it will. Ryan Reynolds is hilarious, and Hugh Jackman plays great off of him. Is it fun to see the yellow suit? Of course it is superficially. And, like, the idea of, like, oh, Ryan Reynolds is Deadpool dunking on the Fox universe. Of course that's kind of fun. Like, all of those things.
Oh, I have thoughts about that.
We'll loop back to that in just a second.
Yeah.
At the same time, they had a fantastic finale. Everyone agrees Logan was a great conclusion to the character. And as soon as some of us voiced like, wait a minute, we're bringing Hugh Jackman back, but we had a great finale. What are we doing here? They're like, well, in the timeline, Logan is 10 years in the future, and we can go multiverse. He can be a variant. Here's all these ways that we could do it, and it doesn't undo the ending. Like, there's the how do you do it in canon that doesn't undo the canon ending, and then there's the emotional release of he played the character for nearly 20 years, and he said, this is my last time. And I want to end on a high note. And he did. They pulled it off. It was so satisfying, and everyone agreed. Thematically, story-wise, character-wise, this was the right way to end it. And then they're undoing it so that we can go, hey, look, it's Elektra. Hey, look, they're fighting in front of the Fox logo. And you see that stuff, and superficially, it's really cool. And that's why I'm kind of torn, because it's like, will I have fun with that? Is there some sort of like element to that like I like? Yeah. At the flip side, does it feel like we're doing something really cheap, undoing something great to do something cheap? All right, Richard, that way you're that way, Richard. So we've been dunking on it a little bit. As the person that's excited, kind of what's your reaction to our concerns?
It's funny. I understand it, and here's what I'm thinking too. We saw how it didn't work in The Flash. I will 100% admit that like
I love The Flash.
I do too.
But so that's what's funny about that's what's amazing of like
that's so funny because
like we watched The Flash and we went, oh man, what a great way to do multiverse. And you watch The Flash and you're like, oh, not a great way to do the multiverse. Yeah. And we're like concerned about Logan and Wolverine coming back. And you're like, that's what's great about this is that we're actually
that's so funny.
So anyway, back to us convincing you The Flash is awesome. What were you saying?
I will not dunk on The Flash. If you guys enjoyed it, that is awesome. Great for you. I'll leave it at that. But and here's the thing with me too. I think with Deadpool, I think for me, because I'm personally, maybe it's just me it's definitely just me on the panel. I'm a big fan of like that meta humor and that stuff like that, the fourth wall breaking, all the real world references and stuff like that. I find that stuff to be hilarious most of the time. I completely understand your guys' concern. I agree with you that Logan is arguably the greatest comic book movie ever. Like, it's in the conversation at the very least, and Hugh Jackman put forth like a performance for the ages. And I obviously I don't want that undone because Hugh Jackman was amazing. But I think this is just a chance to give folks, and like you said, like you were saying, Sean, we never got to see Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman really as Deadpool and Wolverine, because the Deadpool and Wolverine we got was Wolverine origins.
Right.
And
I guess that's right. We did see them together. Technically they did. Not what anybody actually wanted.
Yeah.
I mean, Hugh Jackman was Wolverine, but Ryan Reynolds was like
whatever that was
Wade B. Wilson. That's not the only way I can put it, with the crazy weird sword thing. I mean, I'm so glad they made fun of that in Deadpool too. And that's the thing too. Like all people are saying that they're gonna dunk on Logan's ending and everything. They dunked on Logan's ending in the very first scene of Deadpool 2 with the alarm clock and the music box thing with the Logan, his death scene and everything. I'll totally admit, I am into that kind of stuff. I know not everybody is, and I am more than okay with that. Personally, I'm just really looking forward to it. I'm curious to see how they do all these crazy cameos and stuff, because like with the Elektra thing, I'm betting she's not going to be in the movie for very long. I'm expecting we're probably going to get Ben Affleck as Daredevil again, which is, I find absolutely hilarious that we're going to get Ben Affleck as both of his multiverse characters in The Flash and in Deadpool.
As a quick thought on this, and I'll send it back to Griffin because you mentioned you have thoughts on the dunking on the Fox universe.
Yeah.
Certainly also want to add, it's really frustrating that it feels like all these cameos are being spoiled. Even part of like even the allure of Spider-Man No Way Home was the worst kept secret in Hollywood was that these guys were going to be in it, but we didn't know. And so there was a surprise. And so imagine, even if you're watching the movie and surprise, you have a scene and it's Ben Affleck and Jennifer Garner, no longer married, playing a scene together, and you didn't know it was going to be there. Even if you'd heard rumors, speculation, but then you just have it. I think that, like, even as the gimmick of, oh, wow, they actually did that as a surprise, as opposed to telling us a year in advance. And it just, like, cheapens some of that. But let's send it over to you. We'll kind of close out on you, kind of, Griffin. Obviously, Deadpool, he riffs on everything. He makes fun of everything. Why not so crazy about him dunking on Fox and all of these universes that we're moving beyond?
So I guess the thing with that, I understand like faux sincerity and meta-ness is like really popular right now, and like it's part of why people like Taika Waititi and like Ryan Reynolds are really beloved in the pop culture zeitgeist right now. I think after a while, I just kind of get over that, because like for as fun and as funny as it is, if you don't have like a heart to what you're doing, I just like, I don't know. There's just something like deeply cynical about that whole thing that just doesn't really work for me. That's why I think like James Gunn is a perfect counterpoint to that, because he does really mean-spirited stuff and often like off-putting stuff, but then he counteracts that with like a really strong, profound, emotional heart, and it's why he's, you know, in the position that he's at.
That's where you watch it, and like he can get away with so much. And he can do such weird things. Because he's so sincere with Polka Dot Man. And it like it's so weird, but also he cares about this character. And I mean, I think that maybe that irreverence, just whatever, everything's a joke. Whereas James Gunn has a lot of jokes, but he also takes everything seriously.
And that's sort of the thing. Like, I don't, over the past like however many years Ryan Reynolds has been making projects doing like different variations of Deadpool, basically. I don't feel like I've gotten a lot of that. And also with like, you know, someone like Taika Waititi, I think during the Thor Love and Thunder press tour, that was pretty eye-opening to just kind of like how he views those whole things. And I promise this is all going to circle back into the Fox thing, but like, so the point of, so Deadpool, and so seeing Ryan Reynolds as Deadpool and Hugh Jackman as Logan is cool. I just think it's cool superficially because there are so many times in like throughout the course of cinematic history where we're like, wow, I really wish we could have seen this character or this person playing this character and this person playing this character, this version of the character in the same movie. And it's like, yeah, it's a cool what if, but what is it more than just a cool what if? I understand.
A fan film on Twitter, it's great to see. It is fun. I totally get it.
Yeah,
but it's not clever to say, hey, I got to see these two characters. That's not clever. It's not great writing. But that doesn't cheapen the fact that I totally get why it's great to see it.
Yeah, exactly. But in regards to like the Fox thing, like, I'm assuming the whole gist of this movie is going to be like Deadpool kills the Fox universe. And I'd be down for that if it was coming from any other studio other than Disney. It feels a bit gross when it's coming from Disney. And I understand like this is Ryan Reynolds and he's doing his own thing and like he can say one thing, but that doesn't mean that when I see it on the screen, I'm going to feel the way that he's intending it to. I can I always try and meet the filmmaker where they're at, but I'm obviously going to have my own, kind of feelings about the matter. And so it's like, I just think it's really gross that like Disney's Fox, kind of riffing on that because that acquisition gutted most of their non-IP projects. It led to thousands of layoffs. And like when you're making that like the punchline of Deadpool 3 and you're taking cheap shots at the movies that, a lot of them were bad. Some of them were good.
Way. And even like that's where Kevin Feige producer on both of these projects that led to the MCU, and you had to have the movies where we didn't figure out the formula to figure out what doesn't work and figure out what does work.
Yeah,
and they did a ton of the work that made it so the MCU could just come out so strong with Iron Man.
Yeah, and I mean like someone like Ben Affleck and even Jennifer Gardner, my God, they were ridiculed for like taking these roles in the movies turning out the way that they did. And so to kind of revisit that, like, I mean, I'm sure Ben Affleck and Jennifer Gardner don't really care and they're getting a nice paycheck and they're just sort of like, yeah, whatever, I'll do this for this funny punchline because I'm sure they make jokes of it themselves. But it just feels weird to kind of like go back and like keep, punching down on stuff that we've all kind of collectively punched down on for years. There's nothing witty about that. There's nothing funny about that. It's not charming. Like, it's just kind of like...
It's an easy target.
It's an easy target. And that's kind of how I feel about the whole film. It's just going for like low-hanging fruit that they know people are just kind of like going to eat up because it's either nostalgia or it's like an easy target that people have been making fun of for years. And it's just like... I don't really like the optics of it all. And yeah, I know like Ryan Reynolds isn't making fun of like all the people who got laid off because of the Fox merger, but it kind of feels like that in a sense. It's like, oh, this Disney can like just like gobbled up this other studio and we're going to kill that universe. It's just, I don't know. It's just lacking that sincerity that it's frustrating.
Yeah. Richard, if you can close us out with your 30-second response to give us the positive other side to it, and then we'll kind of move on to a couple of our other subjects on here.
Yeah, and like I hear both of you guys' point of views. I completely understand, like, and obviously the management side of it all, that's never fun to deal with, like the whole Disney taking over Fox thing, and I can't argue against that. I just think for me...
Is that a TVA mug that you just drank out of?
It is. I just wanted you guys to know that I do like these projects because I'm drinking out of a TVA mug. Yeah.
There we go. Sorry, I cut you off there. I saw the TVA mug, and it tied so much into what we're talking about.
Yeah. Fair enough. And like what I'm doing, for me personally, even like as pessimistic as I was, I bring this back to The Flash again. As pessimistic as I was about that movie going into it, just because of all the crap that we had to deal with beforehand, I still try to go into it optimistically. It didn't work out for me, but that's another story. That's what I'm trying to do with Deadpool. Is like I'm looking at the good of what this movie can be. Is like we get the Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman interaction that we've wanted for a long time. I think they're going to put their best effort into it, and what they do with the cameos, I'm waiting and seeing if they do it right, if they do a good job with it. I don't think that's going to be the whole movie. That's what I'm leaning on. Is it's not going to be the whole movie. It's going to be like riffing on like killing the Fox universe and doing all these cameos and stuff. Because there's TVA stuff involved too, and it could tie into the whole multiverse saga. So fingers crossed. I hope I'm right. I get the concerns, but I'm excited for it either way.
Yeah, I'm some of that's my other where I get concerned that the appeal of the first Deadpool of just kind of being the Ryan Reynolds show gets lost the bigger it gets. So even time travel in the second film felt like we're doing few too many things, and that didn't serve the characters much. And then even more so, the meta humor fits, obviously. Making fun of stuff fits with the character, but does it also get too much that it loses the franchise's ultimate asset, which is Ryan Reynolds